I'm the only white face in this area. You don't belong here. Stop, I'll shoot you in the back.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Locked Up with Copville. I've made it, episode 10. I'm still around. They haven't canceled me. They haven't got rid of me yet. I have a very special guest this week, Karl Anderson. 20 years he spent at the North Miami Beach Police Department. He was a supervisor. And like so many of us are hearing during my podcast and things I ran about, you're good until you're not. And Karl, I think that fits you very well. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, it's great to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yep. So
if I can clear something up real quick, you said 20 years. I didn't quite make it 20 years.
Almost
if you watch
20
the
years.
Documentary, it was 17 and a half.
Okay.
And I had to escape like Indiana Jones leaving the Temple of Doom.
I think most people, I guess I kind of summarized it up to 20. When you make 17 in cop world, that's about 50. But
yeah. So
17 and a half years. When I say you're good until you're not, I think we have found out in law enforcement recently that I saw, I did the Sal Alderati case where he gets indicted 2 years after a shooting. I saw an article yesterday where two guys got indicted 7 years after they had an incident. So just like anybody else in today's world, you're good until you're not. And I know you have an amazing story to tell people, and you have your own YouTube documentary called Unbecoming. Is that what it's called?
Yes, sir.
And I see it's right like almost 30 some thousand views that's gotten.
It's been a couple days since I've checked. I still get, I get new viewers returning all the time, and people have, reached out. I've had overwhelming support from every law enforcement agency, or everybody working in law enforcement has just, they get it, because this is it's the sign of the times. It's everything that's
good.
Everything that's going wrong in law enforcement. I had the receipts to try to put together the story, because look, frankly, what happened to me in my documentary, that's small potatoes compared to some other shit that other people have been through, you included.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to tell everybody's story, but I had the receipts for mine.
And what I'm noticing is, when you say that is receipts, is everybody's got the receipts, but unfortunately not everybody has the ability to come forward like we do. So I'm sure, just like me, your DMs are just totally full of guys that are still working, trying to survive things that me and you went through.
Yeah.
And they can't say anything about it. They just got to eat it.
Yeah. And that's a problem with leadership. We've reached a point, and look, it's kind of baked into the system. This leadership cannot ever have any meaningful introspection or humility. Because guess what? If they admit that they're wrong, then they open themselves up to all sorts of liabilities, and they'd rather just steamroll people than try to, hold themselves accountable and hold themselves to a higher standard.
And you find out very quickly that you're expendable, and that's where it's so many layers, and that's why I had a conversation this morning with somebody about why I'm so hard on these TikTok female cops, or people just prissy, making the badge seem cool. It's a cool job, and this job is terrible. This job is, you see dead babies, you see dead people, you hear the worst stories, you could potentially get killed, you could potentially kill somebody. Then you have another entire side of this, which is dealing with the building and the administration, and to sit and preach to young 18, 19-year-old kids that this is such a glorious job you're getting into, and to dance around and make it seem so neat in these new recruiting videos you're seeing in like Atlanta, where they're dancing and doing all these rap songs and stuff. This job is fucked up, and to promote it that way just gets me so upset that that's the image that these people are portraying. And I'm sure, what's your take on that? I mean, this job is fucked. And what do you think when you see those things?
I mean, before I get into bashing the new generation of cops, maybe I should, one of the most critical tools I ever learned, I was able to apply to my own psychology, is being able to not completely kill your ego, but recognize when it's taking the driver's seat.
Mhm.
Like, in my late 20s, I practiced, and this is going to sound like woo-woo hippie bullshit, but I practiced a lot of like mindfulness techniques, meditation. And
Mhm.
you notice the things that really piss you off, a lot of it stems from your ego, our need to compete with others, our need to try to get validation and approval from others. We're social creatures. So this
Yeah.
is like the ancient software in our psychology that makes us act like this. It makes us act out jealousy and entitlement and things like that. And although you're never going to get rid of it, you can watch it when it's taking control and then course correct with your own psychology to try to prevent it from taking over.
Mhm.
That being said, the law enforcement culture today, I'll give them this. I think the efforts that a lot of police departments are making to attract, different, different voices, get their diversity, try to. I think it's pragmatic. I think they're coming from the right place, but they're sending the absolute wrong message.
Mhm.
Because the first thing the cops do now, once they get out of the academy, they get off FTO and they're in their cars, they make their TikTok account and they want to like talk about their expertise, with their 3 months on the job. They want to, humanize the badge. We're done. We don't need to humanize the fucking badge anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we should be trying to escape and overcome our humanity, because we all know human beings are very flawed people, especially those that have not been able to, overcome this drive from their ego for attention and validation from strangers on the internet.
Yeah. And I always say my mark is 5 years. You don't have any idea what you're doing completely until I think 5 years is when you really get that, okay, I can just about handle every call that comes to me. And then every few months, a new one comes at you and you're like, damn, I didn't know that was out there. But these guys, like you said, these kids are going from getting pepper sprayed in the academy and getting tased to 3 weeks on their own, and they're dancing around the car and they're telling people, you should be a cop too. You should want to do this. This is really neat. And it's like, they haven't even seen their first dead baby yet. They haven't been screwed off in an IA or going through the stress of getting the old IA email and having to deal with that on your weekend off, or just all the other, being backstabbed by a partner.
Or how about this one from your commander on your weekend? Hey, get with me when you get back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're just about to start
I make memes about that when the lieutenant calls and says, meet me at the office, and you're like, fuck, I should turn into the next tree. So that is where I guess my hard approach to it is you guys these kids haven't even figured out how to be a cop yet. And they're immediately on, and then they're recruiting these other cops. And maybe 3 or 4 years in, they go, fuck this job's not for me at all. But your first year you spent being a new cop, and you're promoting a job to other people that have no idea what the job really entails. You get to like 15, 20 years, you want to make a TikTok and talk about the job, then I guess I'd probably lay off a little bit more if it had some value, or if your TikToks actually had value to, and there's some accounts out there that bring value. But, and I also always say this, I did it in 2020. I went through a really shitty time, and I got on TikTok, and wasn't selling shit or doing anything, but I did make cringe ass videos going through a mental health crisis. So I think that puts a little bit more on me to go, hey guys, I've done this. I know what you're thinking when you think you're doing the right thing, but 98% of your peers think you're an absolute fucking moron, and they're either too scared to tell you, or they're giving you subtle hints that you're not listening to. And it takes somebody going, hey, fuckface, you're a moron. What are you doing? And
I don't even know if that's going to help. I think it's just going to be a decade down the road, them dying from their own cringe. And
every now and then I get to see a video, because I deleted the account when I went through all the bullshit, and there's still some out there. And I got into an argument with some chick the other day, and somebody had a screenshot where I actually put a fucking blonde wig on. I was so cringe at one point, I put a fucking blonde wig, and I have no problem laughing at myself. I may even stick the picture in here when I edit. And I'm like, oh my God, what a moron. But again, I feel I did what I did. I stopped. I realized how bad it was, and I try to give people the advice calmly first, and then I get a little bit harder on them when hey man, everybody thinks you're a moron, but
Well,
we can do it. Go ahead.
I'll say this, because we need to recognize we can't be these old boomer fuddy-duddies, shaking our fist at the cloud, getting mad at, what the new generation is. The social media is the conduit by which information is spread through this generation. So we need to be on board with that. We need to make sure our police departments are engaging in that conversation on the internet. And I would even encourage the young guys to talk. However, the one caveat that I would make is before you're tempted to post something, you should ask yourself the question, is this meant to tickle my ego? Is this meant to get me likes and validation from strangers on the internet? Or is this something that's actually going to be meaningful and helpful for somebody? Like, could you frame it in a way that helps answer a question or solves a problem? I don't think anybody should be doing it in uniform or using police equipment. I think police departments really need to clamp down on that because it really is diluting the optics. I'm very big on optics in this field. I think it's really hurting us more than it's helping us, and I think administrators need to recognize this.
Yeah, and if you look at some of my most recent little trend I've been doing, oh god, I used the word trend like a fucking TikTok hub. That was bad. My most recent memes are you're out of touch, and I've been finding administrators wearing their magazines upside down, improper gun belts and gear. And when you talk about using social media properly, how do you stand in front of a camera as a chief, deputy chief, assistant chief, sheriff, assistant sheriff, whatever you want to call them, and your gear is completely fucked? And it's like, how are you telling me that I need to listen to you? And do you follow Seal Beach Police Department? Don't Steal in the Seal, California?
I don't, but okay. I'll check them out after this.
Check them out. So Seal Beach Police Department uses comedy and social media to throw bad guys under the bus. They have a little saying called "Don't steal in the seal," and they'll have like a ring of people like stealing from like Target and doing, and they'll put together like a Dukes of Hazzard, Boss Hog, Bo Duke video, and they'll edit in like the bad guys, and they'll just make mockery of it. And at the same time, they're highlighting catching the criminals. Yeah, they're using a little social media. And then some people don't like that. Like Keith Pearson was the sheriff of St. Lucie right up here by me, and he used to just put bad guys on blast. He would show up, video them. I was running the social media for my agency for a while there when I was a street crime supervisor, and I posted some screenshots of the stuff I posted, and I put these dudes on blast. Like, hey, this dude's a piece of garbage. This is what he was doing. The community's a safer place. So in that aspect, I think it's important to keep the community aware of what you're doing. But I also 100%. See where it goes just too far the other direction, where you're using it. Like my agency now, all it posts about is like inmates getting their GEDs, and it's important, that kind of stuff. I get the rehabilitation, but I would think you should highlight your guys in a positive light, and you should use it for the community to understand that, hey, we're out here. Because what everybody say, cops are never doing anything. They're never when I need them. To highlight the stuff that they are doing and the crimes they are solving. So I think obviously social media is a massive part of law enforcement, but when it's being used to skew or to deflect or to hide things, it can also be the worst thing we ever got into. So that's where my TikTok cop sandbox is, that I just don't think they're highlighting the real parts of the job. They're making it out to be all like pink pony show, and it's all great, when reality is this job is not great. It's a great job to do and feel accomplished and to solve crime and put bad guys in jail. But there's also, you're going to have a partner that gets injured or killed. You're going to have a neighboring agency get somebody killed. You're going to have horrible contacts with human beings at their worst. And that, that this is a great job is not the message. I think that 18, 19, 20-year-old kids are completely influenced by what they see on social media now, and you can just brainwash them and convince them to do anything at this point.
Yeah. And, you're talking as far as like the command staff members with their magazines upside down and their guns, their duty belts inside. You're talking about the elephant in the room in this profession right now, which is just abysmal, weak, feckless, incompetent leadership.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That of all the problems in this profession right now, that's the big one. Okay.
Yeah.
And this job has a tendency of making leadership positions a reward, where you ascend to a certain echelon and you put your feet up and you just point fingers, rarely ever taking any accountability or looking at and critically thinking about the problems that are really, hindering the profession from becoming great.
Yep.
And, you mentioned, I helped run our social media unit for many, many years. I helped make it what it was. And I was always a huge advocate for, let's make the bad guys famous.
Yep.
Because shame is a fantastic tool.
Yep.
When the subjects come rolling around at night, trying to break into some cars or rob some people, they might think twice if they know that their face is going to be plastered out on everybody's social media. Yep. But law enforcement command staff is increasingly weary of, like, outwardly, they want to, like you said, unicorn farts and rainbow, like they care more about the community aspect than reminding people that, yes, we are a fighting force that has been tasked with engaging in violence on behalf of its citizenry to uphold, law and order. Like they don't like to talk about that part.
No,
they'd rather talk about, all the diversity initiatives and the LGBTQ liaison, which I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that stuff, but you can't lose sight of the heart of this job.
Yep.
And, the more we soften our image, the more we kind of refrain from talking about, like, what the reality of this job is, the more we attract people that see what we're putting out on social media, and they get a completely backwards view of this job.
Yeah.
And
it's growing. I don't know if you saw, I posted yesterday up in Minneapolis. If I said that right, I got corrected for not saying it right. Or whatever you say it. They appointed 2 civilian females. One was basically in charge of internal affairs, and one was in charge of some other, like, critical part of the agency. Civilian, doesn't matter if they're male or female, but they happen to be both females. Civilians now in charge of internal affairs and another part of their leadership. Like, I don't even understand how we got to that point, and it doesn't make sense. And then I don't, we're close to Fort Pierce. I'm real close. I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you follow this far north of you, that Fort Pierce is disaster. Fort Pierce, Florida, is in St. Lucie. It's one of the top per capita murder spots and shootings and garbage. They had a chief there 8-9 years. She's heavyset black female, just doesn't look anything like law enforcement. Finally, they did a officer survey of the morale. It was so bad that they called a special meeting to fire her yesterday, and she resigned Sunday night before it got to that point. So just little small examples of out of touch reality with reality leadership, and that fact that model doesn't seem to be working. We went really soft for a while now, and now how do you swing it all the way back the other direction to put competent leaders into jobs? And I know in cities it's tough, because even down there, city council and mayors control the police departments. It's not like a sheriff who's elected. So it's just a nightmare of, we can talk about this for 4 weeks of how bad it is. So I want to go into your story, and I'm going to let you kind of dictate and let the flow of it go. It's one of the wildest ones I've heard, and that's how we connected in the first place. Was I came out who I was, what happened to me. You reached out in DMs, and I watched your story, and I was like, there it is. It's the blueprint for fuckery from an administration. So floor's yours, man. Tell us this wonderful story that happened to you.
Well, I'll start by just brief summary of my career. Like I said, I did 17 and a half years, was primarily on road patrol my entire career. I was a great cop, especially the first half of my career. I was very, very proactive. I think you like to call them goons.
Some people get mad.
I would never classify myself that way, but if there was such a thing,
that's the right way to do it. That's how you do it, right there.
If there was then I certainly would have been one of them. Look, I did my job to the best of my abilities. And then back then there was a competitive environment. I was with a bunch of other like young, hungry dudes that wanted to go out there and, shake trees and, stop cars. The environment was like primed for, really sowing your oats back then when I started.
Now you're now North Miami Beach. So give us a rundown of like what that neighborhood looked like back when you started.
So North Miami Beach is in the northeast quadrant of Miami-Dade County. It borders on, borders basically every other jurisdiction in the north. You're bordering with Miami Gardens, Opelika, Miami-Dade, North Miami, Sunny Isles, Aventura. There's a intersection called the Golden Glades Interchange, which is like this big jumble spaghetti road of like of where all the streets converge. So our city, even though it was only like, I think it was like 4.5 square miles, 40,000 residents, but it was still like a nexus for everybody. Like we got everybody's shit coming from everybody else's jurisdiction.
The reason I say that is everybody will hear like North Miami Beach and they think of like Don Johnson cooling in on the beach and suntanning.
No.
And stuff. You're getting all the shit from all those places where like Grand Theft Auto was made down there. All the shit is passing through you guys constantly.
Yeah, well, there's a misconception. There's no beach in North Miami Beach.
Yeah. So you got but everybody hears that and thinks like, oh, this guy's walking around with a coconut drink or something like that. Like you guys are in the middle of the shit down there.
Look, it wasn't the craziest environment, but we got you worked for that paycheck over there. I was a good cop, very proactive for the first half of my career. Got involved a little bit with some specialty units, did SWAT for like 4 or 5 years, I think. Did all the jump out stuff, did all the UC sitting waiting for drug deals, all the fun stuff that guys like us wanted to do. And towards the later half of my career, I kind of started pacing myself a little more. It took more of like an Obi-Wan role, rather training all the next generation of Luke Skywalkers, trying to just carry the torch and be more of a supportive coworker. I got into leadership. My first leadership position, I got promoted to corporal in, it was either late 2018, something like that. Might be 2019, but I was a corporal for about 4 years. Ran day shift pretty much on my own, because at the time the corporal positions were made so sergeants could take off. And ever since the corporals were made, all the sergeants just burned all their leave. So I got a lot of hands-on experience in, doing the supervisory paperwork, everything like that. I had a great relationship with everybody I worked with. People knew who I was. I'm a nerd. If you haven't been able to tell, like I'm a geek. You have an elaborate vocabulary as well. Yeah, people hate me for it.
That's where the goon thing might come in. Like, man, this guy speaks way too good to be a goon.
But my reasoning, and people bust my balls about it all the time. But I challenge them. I'm like, yeah, here, like if I give you like a spicy word or something that you don't know what it is, try to use it in a police report. I want people. Look, it sounds naive of me to say, but I was the type of guy that when shit started raining down on the profession, culturally with the Ferguson and the summer of love and all that shit, I really felt a need to try to elevate the consciousness of law enforcement. And it sounds naive, but look, you call yourself a goon. And we both know how some goons get things done. Yeah. Right. I've never been like that. I held myself to the standards. If the guy gets away, he gets away, is what it is. We'll fight another day.
I look at it so I know kind of people think I felt the same way, but that person went up the list a little bit. So if they got away, it was like, I'll sit outside your fucking house tomorrow morning at 5:45 when I come in, and I'll wait for you to leave, and we'll get you this time. And I'm not talking about targeting innocent people. I'm talking about drug dealers.
Oh yeah.
Habitual felons, guys carrying guns and dope. Yeah, we put a little extra into those guys, which to me is what police work is about. But
Yeah. And,
continue.
so as a supervisor, look, I joked around. I'm a goofball, bro. Like, I love to have fun. I love to joke around. I love the pranks. I love all the little cultural artifacts of what it's like to be a cop, like that's something I've always really enjoyed. I want to pass the torch to the next generation. And look, the job is going to change. It is what it is. Culture is going to change. But there are some things that, we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. There's some, things in his job that serve a very good purpose, and people don't really, acknowledge that. They want to, they're letting HR departments run the profession now, and they're running them into the ground, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so people knew who I was. They knew what to expect of me. I did everything I could. Like, I hate paperwork for the sake of paperwork. I was not the supervisor that is going to just, catch you doing something and then 2 weeks later give you a stack of reprimands or something like that. No, if you fuck up, you mess something up, it is what it is. We'll fix it, but the deal is, I'm going to bring it to your attention. You're going to acknowledge it and be like, yeah, it won't happen again. Good. We're done.
Yep.
We're moving forward.
And that's great old school leadership there. It was take an ass chewing, fix it, move on, not document, all this shit they're doing now.
Right. But, the unfortunate aspect is that you deal with some big egos in this profession. Okay. Particularly with some of the younger guys. There were some problem children. There were, I'll talk about, I got promoted to sergeant in 2022, and, I was assigned to midnights. Was doing the same job on midnights that I was doing on day shift as a corporal. Nothing changed. My administration and my command staff would come up to me, hey, thank you for holding these guys accountable. Thank you for taking this role seriously. Okay, I understand the assignment. Oh, hey, there's some problems on midnights, and we want you to fix them. No problem. I understand the assignment. Okay, and I had a group of bad apples. The worst cops that NMB has ever hired. I'll be point blank. You can ask anybody at NMB; they'll say, "Yep, these were our problem children." And I was correcting issues. Like, I'm not talking about like bullshit. I'm talking about shit that's going to get them sued, shit that's going to jam me up. All right. Yeah. And again, I will not go out of my way to issue you paperwork, but the deal is you need to take your medicine. If I chew your ass out, I need to hear, yes, sir, won't happen again.
And we need to see some, you got to fix it too.
Of course.
It needs to start correcting itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, and I was dealing with these routine behavioral issues on a, regular basis.
Why do you think it ended up, was some of the stuff we talked about, do you think it's why it ended up, you had such a large shift of new problem child? Do you think it's the recruiting? Do you think
100%? It was a failure of our FTO program.
Okay.
It was a lack, dismal falling of standards during the COVID years, where we just cranked because everybody was leaving. There was a lot of political stuff going on in the city. Senior people were like saying, "Peace out, I'm leaving," and our cumulative IQ of the agency just went down. By
so our hiring standards came down, and with the hiring standards came down the quality of officer and the need to fill positions. FTOs were like, man, this guy, we're just going to let him through. We're going to let him.
Not even the FTO. Some of the FTO, a lot of the FTOs were great, and they would say, "Look, this guy's not cutting it." But
administration stepped in.
Of course, because
we need bodies.
We need bodies, and the agency at the time, we weren't paid great. We didn't have great benefits. We didn't have a great retirement, and we had put ourselves in a position where we didn't have the leverage to enact any meaningful discipline, because if I chewed somebody's ass out and they didn't like it, guess what? They were going to go across the bridge to Sunny Isles, where they get to watch the hot Venezuelans all day on the beach and get paid, $20,000 more than that. So there's
something nobody thinks about. I didn't even think about. There's so many options down there. You could have a different job 4 times a year down there and get hired by another agency.
Police agencies, especially, after 2020, they're hemorrhaging bodies. So they just gobble them all up. Whoever you got, give me that guy, give me that guy. They really, there's no quality control anymore. And it's really reminiscent of like the river cop situation, like what happened in the city of Miami, where they were, mass hiring, cutting corners on background checks. And guess what? You had a bunch of, Miami cops that became,
criminals.
Yeah. But so you were a sergeant, as well as I do. If you're not ruffling feathers as a sergeant, you're probably not doing your job.
Yep.
It is what it is. I ruffled some feathers, especially with the guys that had chips on their shoulders. And they all decided they were going to organize a blue flu. 5 out of 6 officers on my shift called in sick. And the acting captain at the time, who was a sergeant, I call him. I'm like, hey, I'm not sure what the hell's going on, but nobody showed up to work today. And he's like, okay, go do a wellness check, go knock on everybody's door. So I had to drive, probably like 200 miles between the farthest north and the farthest south place, knocking on these doors to see what happened. And as it turns out, they all conspired to bang out on the same day and bone all of their coworkers on the outgoing shift. So everybody on afternoons got boned. The following day, I get a phone call from my buddy, and he's like, hey, what's going on with your shift? We heard everybody's talking about your entire shift calling in sick. They said you were, there were complaints. Apparently at the same time, there was like a formal complaint that had been made about me, that I was creating a hostile work environment and that I was using racially inflammatory language and this and this and that.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was such bullshit because, dude, everybody knows who I am over there. And when all this stuff started going down, like it's not my first rodeo. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm pretty good at this. Let's nip this in the bud. I don't want, like, these guys, it's obvious that we're having to deal with it, like just a completely broken generation of cops right now, but I'm up for the challenge. We'll fix them. Okay. But so when this started going down, I called the IA sergeant. I'm like, hey man, I'm hearing these rumors. You know me. I know me. Like, I'm an open book. Let's nip this in the bud to try to fix it. He says, yeah, call the chief and, talk to her about it. I go, okay. So I go through the chain of command. I call my major and I'm like, hey, I want to talk to the chief, let her know, and address some of these rumors so I can give her like what actually happened. He said, yeah, no problem. Let me call her and I'll get back to you. Never calls me back. So I call him back. I'm like, hey, what's up? Does she want to talk to me or not? He goes, no, she doesn't want to talk to you, but just let it settle down and, she'll talk to you. I'm like, fair enough, whatever. The following day I go back to work and I give roll call, and it's the same little dorks that filed the complaints on me are now sitting in my roll call. So now there's like, it's a little awkward because these little dorks had all just called in sick yesterday. So I go around after I give the assignment for the shift. I'm like, does anybody want to talk to me? Does anybody have anything to say to me? No, none of them said a peep. No. Just all by their lonesome, just, looking nervous, which of course they're going to be nervous. They know they got their hand caught in the cookie jar. But right after roll call, well, one of these guys immediately after roll call goes and wrecks his car. So I'm dealing with the paperwork on that. And then I get called into the major's office. And keep in mind, this is midnights. Major, captains, deputy chiefs, they're not supposed to be there. Okay.
Yeah.
So they call me into the major's office. I'm like, okay, hey, look, I get it. I know what this is all about. Each one of them goes out of their way to say, look, none of us agree with how this is being handled, but you're being relieved of duty. This is the memo. This is the chief's decision, and we even argued against it.
Or now, are you on any type of probation as a sergeant at this time?
No, I was. Yeah, I had made.
You're made probation.
Made probation.
Okay. So you're being relieved of duty as far as supervising, but you're still a sergeant.
Yeah. Well, relieved of duty in the sense that they took my badge.
They put you like admin leave.
Took my uniforms, took my cars, took my equipment, and sent my ass home for a month.
Okay.
For a month.
So you get no explanation, just you're going home.
Nothing.
Beautiful.
Just you're out of here.
Good. And we preach mental health in law enforcement because mental health is a hot topic. And for anybody who wants to be a cop, is a cop, doesn't understand what being sent home with no equipment does for your mental health for an indefinite amount of time, that is worse than any other situation you're ever going to encounter in your career, maybe other than losing a partner in a shooting situation. But any call you see, any dead body is going to be a 1 to your 100 of being sent home, relieved of duty with no explanation. And you can probably attest to that. That's got to be the worst moment of your career.
I have a bunch of snot-nosed rookies claiming that the white guy, one of like 5 white guys in the whole agency just happens to be a racist, while they're,
and
justifying
no explanation at all, just rumors, little things, and
rumors.
Go home. Go home and enjoy yourself. We got it from here. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't very.
We got your 6, man. We got your back.
So, detective sergeant, buddy of mine, shows up to drive me home. We're talking about it. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like I did everything by the book, by leadership, by every leadership course. I did everything. And I forgot to mention, at this time, there was a particular captain that was going berserk on officers and supervisors on the shift, coming after us with the most bullshit discipline you have ever seen in your life. Literally fabricating events that never happened, or using creative writing to depict something as something other than it was, to not correct any issues, but to go directly to reprimands for 2 sergeants, myself and the other sergeant on midnights, and like 5 cops.
Which again, it's almost impossible to not get a complaint without that going on, just by driving out of the station and not speeding, wrecking your car, saying the F word on. So your job's hard enough, and now you have administration that's just fucking coming after you, which is and look, bro, like I want to solve problems. If it's a supervisor subordinate relationship, we need to be able to speak the same language. We need to be able to talk to each other. Like if you're my sergeant or if you're my captain, and I'm trying my best to keep the train on the tracks, I'm going to call you. I'm going to be like, hey, listen, man, this is what's going on. This is how I'm dealing with it. Let me know how you feel about it. And just have a open line of dialogue. Okay. Yeah. And the same thing, you as my captain, hey, I saw this. Can you tell me what that's all about? Yeah. Can we work to fix this? Like that is like basic leadership shit. I got none of that. Yeah. Think about a football, like I always use sports. Like if there's a problem, you're not going to wait. You're not going to drop subtle hints. Yeah. And slowly like go after the players. You're going to be like, hey bro, you're late to a meeting. You're fucking up. Like this needs to change. There has to be an open 2-way form of communication. Again, unless it's unethical, immoral, or something that obviously needs to be investigated. Those little things should be constantly being diagnosed to make it better going up the chain and also better coming down the chain. That's what keeps things running, is those little conversations, tweaking things. And it's very important for that line of communication to be available going up and down the chain.
Of course. You've been to first line leadership school or FBI LEDA.
I didn't do that. I make fun of that. I make fun of that one, but
hey, it's not bad. At least the SLI portion, I got a lot out of it. But again, I'm a nerd. Well, you're a goon, I'm the nerd.
You did some goon shit. So my problem is the guys that don't do anything else other than go to that class, and then the first thing they do is come back and put it in their email signature, and it's like, never been to the jail, never put a bad guy away, never put a guy in prison, but I got this really cool class that I can put in my email signature. So I do knock it, but obviously there's a benefit to go into a class like that. So I jokingly mock it for a certain reason.
Yeah. And so the reason I bring up the leadership school is like, these are fundamental principles of leadership, or what they teach. All right.
Yes.
And again, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm not trying to discover a new method of supervision. I'm trying to do things like the way they explain it to me, and the way I go out of my way to learn it from people like Jocko Willink or other leadership people that are all over the internet.
Yeah.
But yet they won't grant me this captain wouldn't grant me the same courtesy. He just went straight to discipline, which anyone will tell you, don't do that shit. There's no use for it. So this is the dynamic going on. I'm relieved of duty, sitting at my house. It actually was serendipitous because I needed to change the fuel pump in my Blazer at the time, and my car was up on jack stand, so I was able to take care of that. Well,
at that point, you're doing anything to keep yourself busy, because the mental health situation.
Exactly. I'm painting my house
like a meth addict. You'll take your whole car apart and put it back
Right.
together just to have something to do.
Yeah, all while I'm home for about a month, and meanwhile, JJ, the IA sergeant, who I like, man, JJ, he's an honorable guy. He's got his quirks and everything, but like same as me, same as you, but he's always been about doing the right thing.
And that's all you can ask for, is that fair. Like as long as you get a fair shake from, especially IA, we talk about it all the time. The IA investigator should be impartial, gather facts, and present the facts to whoever asks for them. And that's the job of an IA investigator.
And I really appreciated him because he was, keeping me updated. He's like, dude, I don't want to leave you in the dark. This is fucked up. I don't believe in the buddy system. I know exactly what's going on. And reassuring me. I'm like, oh, okay, thank God this is, thank God somebody as competent as him is handling this, because God forbid it was some other, someone else that maybe. Anyway.
Yeah.
So finally, 28 days later, 26 days later, something like that, I get a text from my deputy chief. He says, hey, the investigation's wrapping up. It's clear you haven't done anything wrong. Let's get you back to work. I'm like, okay, fine. And he tells me you're going to, you're reporting to administration, working with the administrative major. I'm like, okay, fine. I asked for my gun back and my badge back. I'm like, hey, so if this is nothing serious, can I get my stuff back? He's like, no, just let the investigation take, let it take its course, and we'll give you your stuff back. I'm not going to put up a fight. I'm not trying to rock the boat. I'm a team player. I get that's a messy personnel situation. So I'm like, whatever, but now I can't even legally carry a gun because DeSantis at this time hasn't even enacted the constitutional carry in Florida. So I'm a cop that is driving to and from work.
Yeah.
And I can't even carry a gun,
Meanwhile, you put all kinds of people in prison and jail, and now you're unarmed.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
exactly. So I show up to work. I'm in plain clothes. They give me this beat up 2001 Ford Expedition that's breaking down and leaking oil as a take-home car, which is nice of them. They didn't have to give me a take-home car. They watched out for me. But I'm being told that, my current job is to, in a sense, make propaganda for the department.
Are you looking to boost your energy, focus, and overall well-being? Emerald Medical's hormone replacement therapy program is designed for people who want real results. Their expert team personalizes your treatment to optimize performance and restore balance, whether you're battling fatigue or you just want to feel like yourself again. Prices start at just $160 a month, and podcast listeners get 5% off with code COPVILLE. Veterans and first responders also receive exclusive discounts. Visit emeraldhrt.com to get started.
I was chief propaganda officer for North Miami Beach PD, which I had been for a while. It wasn't anything new to me. I was happy.
So when you say that, like, what exactly was your job?
Basically, just making at the time, it was making videos for different departments or for different specialty units, things like that, and making a longer video for the chief to play at city council, like a look at me video. Look at how great I'm doing.
And you're driving to work unarmed, and
Yeah,
you're in civilian
unarmed.
clothes. You haven't been reinstated as a
Nope.
sworn officer yet, but you're back to work.
I'm back to work full time. Okay. And keep in mind, like, I didn't tuck my tail between my legs. I asked them on a daily basis, can I have my stuff back? Can I have my stuff back? Can I have my stuff back? Got it in writing. Okay. I was told, no, chief isn't saying anything. Oh, okay, fine. So it was extremely clear that I was being made an example of for, blasphemy, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But so I do my job. I'm making these videos. I make this look at me video for the chief, trying to make the agency look like it was in a lot better shape than it was in reality, which I'll admit flat out that's what I was doing. Because look, we all want our chief to succeed. I don't have a problem with any administrator. It's like the pilot flying our plane.
Yeah.
We want our administrators to do good, to do well.
Because it trickles down, and we all do good.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
And we need open dialogue and communication. I'm a professional in my realm. I'm assuming you're a professional where you are. Let's work together and keep this train on the tracks. So while this is going on, I'm talking to everybody that's involved with the case, and I'm being told, let me talk about what they were saying that was racist that I said. We were talking about a use of force where a taser was used, and this was two separate instances where a taser was used on two different people under circumstances where the officers on scene told the tasing officer, do not tase him. But they couldn't listen and they couldn't communicate. Okay. You've probably had plenty of use of forces. So have I. Okay.
Few.
Shit goes out the window. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
The dynamics of violence are unpredictable.
Correct.
We train to overcome our instincts, but if we don't train, if we're not conscious of what we're doing, our animal instincts are going to take over, and we're a bunch of hairless monkeys. Okay. Yeah. So I said that when we were basically doing this, I wouldn't even call it a debrief, just talking about some of these uses of forces that have been going on. I'm like, look, you guys got to communicate with each other. This is real shit out here. You need to communicate with each other. You need to think 3 steps ahead, because at the end of the day, we're all just a bunch of hairless monkeys who have evolved to hunt something down and kill it.
That's the racist part?
Yes. Okay. These little punks
my God,
said that this was clearly racial, that this was intended to, and keep in mind, the people on the scenes that I was talking about were not even black, or some of them were black, some of them were Hispanic, some of them were white. Okay.
Well, the fact that you even have to justify that in that statement,
but that's where
is idiotic. I get it. It's idiotic that you have to clarify that what you're saying has to be justified by what color they are. That is not a racist statement or a racial slur in any shape of anything.
Dude, and it's like, it's an insult to my intelligence.
Yeah.
Too. Because
it really is.
Like, bro, I was raised in South Florida. I am the token white guy in all of my friend groups. All right. And I align with people based on our values and our common interests and shit like that. I'm not tribal in any sense of the word. Okay. Especially as cops, you are going to deal with every flavor of Skittles out there. You're going to deal with every race, every gender, every sexual orientation, every religion. And the idea is that we are not beholden to these same like dumb tribal instincts as the rest of society. We need to overcome that to work together.
This is my problem. Racism is used so much that it's devalued what exactly a racist is. Racism isn't like kinda. It's like the sun. If you know someone's racist, it's not hard to tell. You know it. You go to calls, you hear people. To me, a word doesn't make somebody racist. Saying a word that's commonly used in rap music every day, all the bullshit that you see on TV, all the songs, that to me, the word is not the gauge of racism anymore. The society has made that word a very common word. Racism is a behavior, and obviously you're segregating or attacking a group of people because of their race. Racism is as bright as the sun when you run into it. It's like, bro, this dude's fucked up. Like, this guy's a racist piece of shit. It's not one little, and to classify it as that example of you saying that, it is. It's an attack on common intelligence.
Yeah.
And that's a common argument I've been having. I saw Dominic Izzo just go at it with another a black officer in one of his episodes about the use of the N word, and how it's automatically racist if a white guy says it, but it's not if a black guy says it. Racism is glaring. There is no doubt in my mind when you run into a racist, you're like, bro, this fucking guy's racist. Like, this dude's a piece of shit. It's very simple, but to have that thrown at you as a white male supervisor, and it's like being engaged a sex offender. Like, once you have that kind of start coming your way,
oh yeah,
it's almost it's impossible to dodge it. And what do you say? I have a black friend. I like black people. Like, there's no way out of it once it comes at you.
That stinks.
It really sucks. It really, it really sucks.
And it was clear that the only reason that could have worked was because of the color of my skin.
Correct. If you were black, that statement means nothing to anybody.
And look, maybe it was, bro, since I've supervised, I've used a phrase like that to try to just imbue some common sense and some humility and self-awareness in us as human beings. We are flawed creatures that will fuck shit up. Look at the news whenever, and you can see some cop or a group of cops just their emotions and their animal instincts took over and took things way too far.
And the chief is a black female, correct?
Yeah, and look, I've worked with some bad bitches in my day. All right, black, white, Hispanic, you name it. I'm not the Izzo was right crowd just yet. Okay, I mean, we can all acknowledge biology, but
yeah,
I've worked with professionals of every gender, every race. Okay, and this particular chief, and again, I don't like talking shit about people. Okay, like, I recognize
sometimes
the humanity.
You have to, sometimes you have to.
I recognize everybody's humanity. I recognize everybody's mistakes. But yeah, it was clear that she was not a leader. Okay, and the documentary goes into her pedigree and how she ended up where she ended up. And I feel bad for having to do that. But
well, what I noticed when I saw the news clips, and I think it's great when people of color make it to places that they have never made it before. And there are, like, the first black president and the first black CEO, and we go to, it's important, but it's also important to be qualified for the position. And if you're only, I saw all those news clips in your documentary. It was like black female, black female, black female. Yes, it's important. I'm not downplaying the importance, but and this is where the person taking the position has to be accountable and aware that just because you are a certain color, gender, or whatever you are, you should still be qualified to do that job. And you should never take a position based on anything but qualifications. That's my argument with DEI. That's my argument with 30 by 30. It's dangerous to say, I want 30% of the females to be 30% of cops to be females in 5 more years just to do it. Like, are we going to just put everybody with a vagina into a cop uniform to get to a number? Or are we going to continue to vet and hold our standard here and go, whenever that happens, and I see such a focus on a color or trans, now the trans movement is there out in California. I'm the first trans, this, that. I don't care what you are. I'm the same way. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what sex you have. I don't care who you have sex with. I don't care if you're attracted to owls or TVs or Gatorade, whatever, they're out there. I see dudes get walked around on dog leashes. I don't give a fuck what you put your sexual parts in.
Don't yuck somebody's yum. You know?
Whatever you do with your vaginas and fake vaginas and everything else and your skin color, I don't care. Do it. Right. Don't push it on me and my kids. Don't push it to me to be accepting of your whatever your behavior is. Just be qualified. I don't care what you are as the leader. If you're qualified, I'm with you. To a certain extent, I'm with you. I don't care if you're black, white, yellow, all that stuff. So when you over focus on race, color, sexual orientation. What are you hiding? Are you telling me first black, first lesbian, first this, first white, whatever, first white guy with bald head, whatever it may be? Are you telling me that because it's really that important? Or are you hiding the fact that they're absolutely not fucking qualified for the position and you're just making it out to be, look at this guy? That's my problem.
It's damaging because it's damaging to the actual competent people.
Yes.
And they see this type of behavior. They don't see leadership. They don't see the effort and the drive to ascend to a position. They see a DEI Manchurian candidate that gets put into power as a puppet and bends to the will of the of the powers that be, and is incapable of leadership and pushing back against some bad ideas.
Yeah.
Leadership is leadership. It doesn't have a skin color. It doesn't have a gender.
Correct.
Okay. And I want to get to a point in our society, and I get all the cultural, historical arguments. Like there's nothing wrong with having that conversation. There's nothing wrong. Like I have a lot of empathy in my heart. I listen to people's experience, listen to their lived experience, listen to like why they think the way they think, to try to conduct myself better, but we've been seeing this DEI stuff for so long now that we have a competency crisis in nearly every institution that is holding America together right now.
Yeah.
And we need to get back to a place where I'm not a white guy. I'm not blonde hair. I'm Karl and you're Mike. It's that's the only way we're going to move forward.
Do you watch Charlie Kirk?
I see some of his clips from time to time.
He does it all the time. And when he people come up and I'm oppressed, and he's like, tell me one thing you can do that I can't. And they try, and he's like, no, that's not. He's like, you tell me one thing that you can do, that I can do as a white person, that you can't do as whatever black, whatever you are, and they can't ever answer it. And honestly, there are things that they can do that I can't do. There are set aside grants, and there's set aside numbers, and there has to be this many of this for like a college takes this many. Was there a time in our society, in our world? Yes, there was a problem, obviously, where we went through the civil rights stuff, and there was discrimination, and there was. I will. It's not there anymore, and people are making money and living off the past and using that to their advantage. Like Black Lives Matter, like that was a fucking joke. Yeah. Like those people ended up finding out they were spending the money on themselves. It was all a scam. Do Black Lives Matter? Absolutely. Absolutely. All lives matter. But to set aside Black Lives Matter, and then everybody jumps on this bandwagon, and then all of a sudden that whoever, like, did the blacks ever get irate that all that money they sent and all that stuff was absolutely used for personal gain for the people that started Black Lives Matter and was absolutely a scam? Like nobody ever got mad about that. Like it just went away. So I even when I started this, I would have trouble even saying what I just said, because I'm like so ingrained as a cop that I don't even know if I can I talk about race? Can I say those things? Am I allowed to? I don't want to get in trouble. And now it's like, it's taken me, 8 months being gone to go, some things just need to be said. And I see like Officer Tatum is big about that kind of stuff. I'll tell you who's catching my eye a lot, and here, even I saw him today, was Stephen A. Smith. He talked this morning about how he probably would have voted for Donald Trump in this election instead of Kamala Harris, and going forward, how he might vote for like a Marco Rubio or somebody, So it takes some guys like that to kind of get the narrative back to the middle. There's always going to be division. There's always going to be a problem, but it got so far with the 2020 cancel police, George Floyd, all that, Ferguson. It got so bad. And it's like, hopefully it's coming back, because like you said, the ultimate, at the end of the day, I don't care who's standing next to me, in front of me, behind me, just be fucking capable of doing the job so we can all get it done together. That's all that. I don't care what you do in your free time. I don't care who you worship. I don't care what you have sex with. I don't care what your beliefs are. You and me next to each other, we're going through that door. We're going to survive. We're going to succeed together. That's all that matters. And that's what that's what most people in society, I'm going high 90s. That's what most people believe. It's unfortunate that you have people attacking that belief and spinning it for their own personal and monetary gain, and it sucks.
Well, I mean, anybody who's paying attention, and again, I'm a nerd. I pay attention to this stuff. I look at these cultural fault lines that are emerging in our society right now. Like Kanye West has a catchy song called "Hail Hitler."
Unbelievable.
Okay, you have a woman. Well, before I get into that, you have a young black man who stabbed a white teenager to death, who collected $500,000 on GoFundMe.
Yeah.
You have a white woman who's dropping the N-bomb in a park in front of toddlers, collecting $500,000.
Yeah.
Like, shit is broken, dude.
It's fucked. It's fucked.
It's fucked. And people aren't really being honest about it. Okay. We need love. We need effort. We need honesty. That's it. Anybody else? Like, we need to purge the dishonest grifters from our ranks in society, because what happens is the most vocal, loudest idiots on either side, wherever you're talking about, they're always steamrolling the normal, rational people that give a shit. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, you're right. They both do it, because it's not a Republican or Democrat thing. If the Democrats are in charge and they do something stupid, all the Republicans run to make a video or a TikTok about it. And if the Republicans do something, it is. It's a society, mankind issue at that point. That it's like
tribalism.
Yes.
And you're never going to make a dent in tribalism until you're able to remove yourself from the tribe. Right? You have to think of and look, the individual, I forgot the philosopher who said it, but the most vulnerable minority group is the individual. You know, the most vulnerable minority is the individual.
Yeah.
People band together based on whatever it is: race, religion, creed, sports teams, book clubs. Like, people have their in groups. All right.
Yeah.
And that kind of tribal insulation and the unwillingness to listen to somebody else's perspective. You don't want to have an honest conversation. You just want to win an argument. Okay. Yeah. For a lot of people, you just want your team. You want to take one for your team. Yeah. That is going to fuck shit up beyond repair. Okay. Yeah. And people need to be honest about that. People need to have these uncomfortable conversations.
I always joke that I know there's no racism, because you go to a casino and sit at a blackjack table, and you could have a cop, a gangbanger, or a murderer, every person that would want to kill each other, a Jewish person, a Nazi. They don't give a fuck who said. They all want to beat the dealer in blackjack. They all want to win together. They don't care. Yeah. None of that comes up at the table. They are all different colors. They're all different shapes. None of that comes up. It's all because, like you said, tribalism. We're all on the same team right now.
Yeah.
And because there's money involved and we're trying to win it, they overlook all that shit. You never see. I always laugh. You go to a casino and you'll see the oddest group of people just high-fiving and hugging and cheering. No knowledge of their political beliefs. No knowledge.
Kind of like a group of cops, right?
Yeah. No knowledge of anything about each other. But at that little half circle with nine hands in front of it, and everybody's betting $20 a hand, they are the best 9 friends anybody could have, and there's no drama. And that, to me, shows that it's not. You go back to racism, the black guy and the white guy would sit down next to each other and want to kill each other, regardless of what the outcome or what was going on the other side of that table. That's racism. That's a problem. The rest of it is not. And you know, it is. It's the media spinning it and everything that's been going on. And there are some nasty human beings out there. Like, I've encountered them. There are terrible humans. There are racists. There are bad people sprinkled in society that are just cancerous. Yeah. So it's out there. But all right, so you're back on leave. You're doing the propaganda. And,
I'm doing all that. Meanwhile, I'm being told by everybody involved. You know, I mentioned that, you know, one of them made a comment. Oh, we get that you weren't trying to be offensive, but you need to be careful just because of the optics of you being a white guy supervising a bunch of minority officers. I'm like, okay, so this is because of the color of my skin. Oh, no, I'm not saying so.
That's racist against you now.
They said the quiet part out loud, unfortunately for them.
Yeah.
And every single one of them, including the IA investigators, including the command staff, they're like, dude, it's getting exonerated. Thank you for being a team player. Just let it pass. Go through the motions. You're going to be all right. Okay, no big deal. This gets dragged out for months on end. I was relieved of duty on April 1st. I didn't get reinstated as a patrol supervisor until July, I want to say 28th. So close to 4 months.
So you did your admin time at the desk. Now they reinstate you as a patrol.
Yeah. All the while they refused to ever give me my stuff back. Okay. I do my, during this time, I do my interviews. I listen to the shit that these guys were saying on their tapes, which you can hear on the documentary.
Yep.
And I bring all the receipts. I say, hey, this is what they're saying. Here's what I got. You make the decision. You make the call. And look, bro, I'm not above criticism. If people have an issue with the way I handle business, let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah, there's a difference between an issue and being a racist or violating policy. Like,
of course,
we're gonna have issues.
If you think I'm being too hard on these guys, I don't think I am. I think I've been doing this long enough to know exactly what this idiot needs to straighten his shit out. Okay. Mm-hmm. But if you want to have a conversation about, I'm open to it. Let's have a conversation about it. But I was never granted that. So finally, there's a lot of moving parts. That's why I put it all in the documentary. There's a captain's position, which I'm eligible for. I put in for the captain's position. There's no lieutenants at the agency. It just goes straight from sergeant to captain. So I put in for the captain's promotion, ace it. Out of 6 people who took the captain's exam, only 4 had passed, and I was number 1 by far. Left my competition in the dust. All right. And you never know. You've taken promotional exams. You know how nerve-wracking they are. You know, you never really
passed it once.
Good for you, man. Hey, dude.
I got promoted once. I passed it once. I failed it like 7 times.
Yeah. Hey, but you learn, you know.
It's stressful. Yeah. It's
very stressful. And it's vulnerable too, you know,
and
because
to score number 1 is very hard to do.
I've bombed some promotional tests before, and people roast you, man.
People,
they won't let you hear the end of it. So you're like putting yourself out on a ledge.
I had some extra incentive. Was what they did was when the new sheriff took over, he had a second one. I didn't take the first one, but he took over and he did his own. And my wife was actually testing. We just started dating, so I was like, I cannot fucking fail this thing with her in it. So I asked the first, and she fucking beat me by 1 point. And you know what I forgot to do? You know what I forgot to do?
What's that?
I have very little, but I have like 38 college credits. I forgot to submit my transcripts to get the 2 bonus points I would have got for college.
Damn.
So I would have bumped her. She beat me by score, like smoked me. But because of my time in service, I had like so many more years, and then I had military, and then I got like a 93 or 94, and she got like a 95. And if I had submitted my college, I always joked I would have beat her. But she got promoted before me anyway, so she beat me there.
Well, I mean, so yeah, you know how it is, right?
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
It's nerve-wracking, and people are judging you, especially if you've failed a couple of them before. You know, it's like you're putting yourself out there.
Oh yeah.
And it's like asking the hot girl out. You know, walking up to the hot girl at the bar. You know, working up the courage. That's same nerves that you get in your stomach.
These kids don't know. It's like DMing the hot girl on Instagram.
Yeah, no, all the young dudes today are asexual. Unfortunately,
they don't walk up to people at bars. They stand way in the corner and hide.
Yeah. So I aced the test. I am overjoyed. They send out the email. They put out the results for PD sworn, the entire email group. I'm getting my phone's blowing up, and everybody's like, dude. They put you through put you through some shit, and instead of giving up, you showed everybody I felt vindicated by this. I'm like, look, I've been doing the job the best way I know how, and I'm pretty smart. I care about this job. I've been trained. I go out on my own on YouTube to watch leadership stuff like that, because I want to make a difference. I'm one of those naive saps that gives a shit about the culture of police department, and I do want to make a difference. So yeah, I felt it was one of the greatest days of my life. couple weeks later, I get told that my IA has finally wrapped up, and I go to the major's office, and then we're going to discuss it. And keep in mind, this whole time, they're saying, "Bro, you got nothing to worry about." Just
same thing I was told.
Yeah. And in my mind, this is how naive I was. This is how like confident I was. I thought I was going to walk into the major's office and they're going to tell me about my responsibilities moving forward as in my captain's capacity.
Yeah,
right?
Unfounded and promoted.
Yeah, unfounded, promoted. Here's your squad. Here's your new shift. Go out there and save the world. Yes, sir. That was kind of like what was in my mind. So, come to find out, I get in there, and out of 4 violations, they had sustained 2, and these violations were so benign that nobody has ever actually had paper on them before. Like, that's what people need to understand. Nobody has ever actually been disciplined for these things before.
Yep.
But they were sustained. It was using offensive language. Me describing human beings as hairless monkeys was offensive. Okay. Not because it was intended to be offensive, but because people interpreted it as so.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, if I call you a sheepdog and you think that's offensive, then I can get written up for that. Or if I call you a sea donkey or a slug or something, I can get written up for that, apparently. Okay. And then also they hit me with, what was it? Failing to set an example as a supervisor because morale was low.
Oh.
Keep in mind, all the while they've been telling me to get these guys in line. These guys have a pretty clear track record of being the worst cops in the agency. I'm sorry if I'm going to hurt some feelings, but that's what's required.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah.
And so and it was clear. Bro, the administration had shit the bed. Everything that they had been trying to enact, all these stupid, retarded policies. Okay. And I had to talk to the troops about it, giving them a straight face because I don't bitch down to the troops. If I have something to complain about, I'm going to bitch up. All right. Because they don't need to be exposed to the negativity.
Yeah.
But these guys had just shit the bed with everybody's morale in the entire agency, putting these stupid programs like ExecuTime and basically encroaching on every single one of our existing freedoms, especially on patrol, man. People forget what it's like to be on patrol, dude.
Of course they do.
You are the only people in the organization that are held to any type of standards whatsoever. Every other unit, you get 2 square meals a day. You get to go to the gym, get the fuck off, get to watch YouTube, whatever. Nobody gets held to the standards that patrol gets handled or gets held to.
Everybody that judged me on my IA had not worked the road in over 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
For a pursuit, traffic stop, resisting arrest. So
Yeah.
I got judged by people who hadn't done it since 20 years ago or longer. One guy bragged it's been since 1993. Since one of our deputy chiefs bragged it had been since 93 since he worked the road. So
I love how they're proud of that. I love how they can confidently say that they've successfully hid from danger from the reality of this job.
What was funny is, the body cam, and one of my issues with the body cam is obviously it doesn't see 360 degrees and it doesn't see everything. And part of what I had was, as I was wrestling with a guy, my body cam was pinned to him. I had crackhead mom and dad berating me, screaming at me, calling me every name in the book, obstructing my investigation or resisting arrest by being told to get back, and they didn't do it. But when I finally get undone fighting with this guy and I turn them around, they're just standing there now because they've got done cussing me out. And I caught the whole, well, it's not on body camera. Well, it wouldn't be on body camera because I was fighting with this dude at the car. My body camera wasn't phasing. I remember when I came out of I got demoted, and when I went in, I had to watch it. And that's the first thing the 1990 last time on the road, 1993 guy said to me was, well, look, he's just standing there minding his business. I'm like, yeah, it's 3 minutes later. It's 3 minutes after I was fighting with his son and my body camera was pinned up against the dude. And now he's not screaming and yelling. It doesn't absolve the fact that he was.
Yeah.
So it's they lose touch with and just
Of course.
you're out of touch. They lose touch with reality. They over rely on body cam now because body cam's God. But you're still, having not been out there in years and years and years, you don't remember what it's like.
And it's what I've seen is even worse than that too, because they're putting people, like so many of the administrators not only have been far removed from patrol, like in their supervisory years, but even like these were the people that went to the detective bureau or went to CP or went to some fantasy position, like early on. And then you are like, even to this day, you're taking these 2-3 year people and you're putting them in these specialty positions. And guess what that does? That insulates them from any opportunity of having that insulates them from any chance of danger, any chance of making a significant mistake where they're going to have discipline. Okay. And then they never learn that muscle. They never build that muscle for accountability.
And how can you judge me as a reasonable officer
Of course.
in my situation where I use force or I do something when you've never done it, or it's been so long you forget what it's like to be being screamed at in the middle of arrest, or to be worried that somebody's going to jump in while you're fighting with somebody. You lose touch with reality or what that hair on the back of your neck feeling is, and you're just like, oh, he should have done this and that, and he should have done that. No, bro, you haven't fucking done it in so long, or
They're
you never did it to start. You didn't do it at all. You made detective at 3 years and you brag about you forgot what it was like, or you never did it.
Exactly.
And now you're judging me. Even the lieutenant at the time, that was my IA lieutenant. She was a fucking sergeant. She got protected by a male. She didn't do anything critical. She was never in a critical incident. And my IA interview was worse than a fucking deposition. The way she asked me, and I know she didn't come up with those questions herself. That was a calculated line of questioning. But even for her, she didn't do a fucking thing. She had never done anything to even be able to ask me those questions, because you've never done it.
Exactly.
So how can you ask me about why did I do this? Why did I do that when you've never fucking done it? And that's what usually happens when the quick movements and promotions happen, and then they end up way up top. They never did it, or they don't know what the fuck you're doing.
You create a caste system, you create you create different tiers of, and they love to come down to roll call and be like, oh, guys, you are the backbone of the agency. We couldn't work like you're so important. Yeah. Meanwhile, they'll come after you for the most benign bullshit.
Yeah.
And
look, they haven't sweat or put a vest on in 15 years, but they're telling you how you're the backbone.
They haven't felt any real pressure in 20 years, but they make sure to get their 2 square meals a day. They come and go as they please. Look, bro, I need administrators to understand. You're human. We remember when you were cops too, as a matter of fact, a lot of you administrators out there, and we've all seen your mistakes. We've seen your ego. We've seen your attitude. But we can acknowledge that you're human. Yeah. What we can't have is hypocrisy. Okay.
My version is you can't be a piece of shit. That's how I would say it. But
exactly.
You're right.
I can't stomach hypocrisy. Like when you're holding people to standards that you've never held for yourself, none of these people know how to work a body cam or how to log into ShotSpotter or log into the LPR. Like none of we are subject matter experts in our field. Yep. Would you grant us the courtesy to acknowledge that, maybe we know a little more than you, but we can still work together. But they're out of touch. They're arrogant. They're shielded from any type of responsibility or accountability, and then they throw people under the bus without any thought in the world.
We get in trouble for treating people not as bad as they treat other cops. That's the other argument I always had was, this is my favorite shirt. My wife got suspended 40 hours for saying, put your wife up during a traffic stop, or my case. The woman was out of control, cussing, screaming, using the C word, just out of control. And my wife said to the dude, can you put your wife up? And ultimately she was suspended 40 hours. Do you know what my wife has endured and things have been said to her as a female in that agency by the same people who put your wife up to be a problem? Like, women should be making sandwiches, women shouldn't be cops, and not even to go into the sexually charged stuff she's had to endure as a female. But on that day, you'll put your wife up was the worst thing anybody's ever heard anybody say. Yeah. So it's hypocrisy at its finest. And those people that made this decision that this was a huge deal have said and done far worse to my wife and to other females and to other people, you know. But when you're in the glass house that day and oh, look at me, I'm an administrator, I'm going to judge you, they do whatever the fuck they want, man. That's the scariest part of this whole thing. Yeah.
Well, so where was I?
You're called into the office.
Yeah. Okay. I called in the office, and then they write me up. They're not write-ups. They're technically
sustained allegations, right?
Well, yeah, they're sustained allegations, but they're categorized as type A violations, which under normal circumstances, historically, is, hey, you did that, knock it off.
Yeah.
Verbal counseling, it's done. Okay. But no, they had to commit it to paper. And not only did they have to commit these two bullshit violations to paper, they had to compound them. And because two were committed at the same time, it now bumped it up to a Class B violation.
And if I'm going to guess correctly, that's going to eliminate you from being promoted.
Well, we'll get there. Hold on. So
you have a Class B because of two Class A's, but they happened at the exact same time.
I have a Class B because they decided to it's like that douchebag cop who just wants to ding somebody for a bunch of tickets just because he can, Yeah, I don't have a lot of patience for those guys.
I only did that in very rare cases where crack drug buyers were running their mouth bragging that I didn't find the drugs. I'm like, all right, bitch. But
sometimes
your normal citizen doesn't need four tickets. Like, hey,
exactly.
here's your ticket, correct it, fix it.
So they tell me, it's being compounded into a Class A. You're getting an employee warning report. And you need to sign and acknowledge it. And oh, by the way, because this is not technically a reprimand, you're not allowed to grieve it through the grievance process. This is where it ends. You need to sign it, shut up. You're being labeled as a bad supervisor and a potential racist for the rest of your career. And you're supposed to smile and take it.
Yeah, take it. Because now you've acknowledged that you did it.
And
if you sign it, yeah.
I said no. And listen, man, like I have the individuals who gave it to me, they were coerced into doing this. Okay. I do not hold them responsible for the abomination that this turned into. This was the responsibility of one person, okay, who had leverage over everybody else. So I told them, I'm not accepting that. I'm taking this to the city manager, and I'd like to have a word with him. At first, they said, yep, that's your right. But then after the meeting, I was approached in the hallway saying, FYI, if you take this to the city manager, things are going to go bad for you. As if they haven't already been bad for me.
The old idle threat.
Yeah.
I've been on that one too.
Yeah, exactly. If you decide to fight this, things are going to get worse. Okay.
Yeah, love it.
And in my mind, I'm like, let's fucking go. Let's play this game. Okay. So I listened to him say that, and I'm like, I'll take that under advisement. A couple hours later, I get called into the chief's office to talk to the major, the deputy chief, and the chief. The major talks to the chief while we're all in there. He says, we issued Karl the discipline. He disagrees with it. She goes, oh, well, doesn't say anything, just shrugs her shoulders. And keep in mind, me and this woman had been having great, cordial conversations. In administration, I sat directly across from her. Hey, chief, how's it going? What can I do for you today? Hey, how's it going? Hey, if you get a chance, can we talk about this? Can we have a conversation about everything that's been going on? I'd really like to just, clear the air on some things. Oh yeah, I'm going to talk to you. Don't worry. We're going to have a conversation. No, she's a coward. She refused. She got her muscle to come in and do the dirty work. Refused to ever have a word with me, have a conversation, because she knew that she didn't know what she was doing. And the emperor had no clothes, and she didn't want to get found out. So the major tells her, yeah, no, he disagrees. She goes, I don't care. They change the subject to the captain's promotional exam, and they say, or she goes, you did extremely well. It's very impressive. I'm asserting my right as the chief to use the rule of three, which, you know what the rule of three is?
Go ahead, tell us.
Well, I don't even know how it's supposed to work on paper. I don't even think they used it right, but it basically gives the chief the right to pick and choose where somebody, like promotional exams are just suggestions at that point.
Yeah,
when the chief,
she's going to use other factors to determine.
Yeah, she's going to use other factors. That's only been used one time in the history since I've been there, and it happened to somebody who was accused of stealing from the city when they got skipped for a sergeant's promotion. So I tell her, I'm like, this is pretty confusing for me. Would you mind telling me a little bit about your thought process? And she said, no, I am asserting my right as the chief to use the rule of three. Just sticking to her guns, doesn't want to talk. And look, from an employee relations standpoint, it's clear that you're just sweeping shit under the rug, trying to muscle your way around. You're not trying to have a meaningful conversation. If you were a real leader, you would talk to me and tell me what I should be doing to meet my career goals.
Correct. That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just go, you're
if you have any criticism whatsoever, please provide it so I can course correct.
Well, it's like you're under an IA now for saying that you didn't do that. And that's what they're saying you're supposed to do, is help these kids and get them squared away. So here they are now holding up the same standard. Yeah.
So she decided she wasn't going to entertain my, I knew exactly what I was getting from
I would imagine she's probably not intelligent enough to have the conversation.
I'm not going to make,
I don't know her. Okay.
I'm not going to say it out loud.
Okay.
But, so I'm like, I'm talking to a wall here. I said, thank you for your time. And I leave the meeting. And as you can imagine, I'm pretty pissed. I worked hard for that. For almost 2 decades, I've been working towards that outcome, or towards that position. And as I walked out of the administration office, a buddy of mine sees me in the hallway. And keep in mind, at this time, I'm still getting text message saying, oh, what's up, Captain? Bro, good job, great job. And funny, one of my buddies, he goes, bro, now that you're a captain, are you gonna break your foot off on the asses of these clowns that came after you? I said, no, man, it's water under the bridge, bro. It's like we need to move forward. We can't dwell in petty bullshit. Let's just pack it up. I'm not bitter about it. It is what it is. Let's just move forward. And and he said, look, dude, when you told me that, that's when I knew you were a leader. Okay. Because I don't hold grudges, bro. Life is too short for that.
Yeah.
But I'm still getting my phone's blowing up with everybody congratulating me. And my buddy of mine sees me in the hallway. He's like, hey, what's up, Captain? I'm like, nah, the chief decided she was going to skip me. And he was like, what? What the hell? Why? I said, I don't know. She wouldn't tell me. So you know how it is, especially in small departments, the rumor mill just starts swirling. Everybody's talking about it. And it got so bad, because they were getting a lot of pushback. This was an unpopular decision. I wasn't an extremely disliked guy in the agency. People knew me. I was a familiar face. So it gets back up to administration, all the rumors that are going on, and they decide they're going to hold a meeting and roll call about her decision. And basically she gets up and roll call and she says, this was my right as the chief, and I am supported by the union in doing this. I'm supported by my command staff in doing this, and yada yada. And she was getting some, people were asking like, hey, like, you can't give some more insight? Like, well, what's the point of the captain's test? What's the point of a promotional exam if this is the way things are going to unfold? One of her majors, she prompted to publicly agree with her. She said, "Oh, Major so-and-so, why don't you take it away?" And he called me after and said, "Dude, she put me on the spot. I had no idea she was going to tell." Because listen, every single member of her command staff that had spoken to me, which was most of them, said, "This is bullshit, and we're here for you. We're on your side." So the member of command staff gets set up by this woman to basically feign agreement with her decision. And he's like, yeah, we came to a decision. Basically, had to bullshit the roll call. And he calls me I was home at this point, and he called me. He's like, "Listen, before the rumors get to you, just so you know, this woman set me up, and I had no choice, because there was so much nonsense going on with administration at this time." I talk about it in the documentary as like a Game of Thrones. This woman was like ordering to see the cell phones of her commanders to see if they were talking crap about her. No, I swear to God. Okay?
I believe it.
She was unstable. All right. And so all this is going on. I call the IA investigator after all this kind of goes down, because like, dude, I'm not gonna let you do that to me. Sorry, I've been doing this too long. In my mind, I'm gonna like start reaching out to some attorneys, because my union threw me under the bus. My union completely shit the bed. They were in on it, as a matter of fact.
Mine did
okay,
too.
and that came to me after the fact. The connections to the union leadership, and that broke my heart when I found out. And you think you have friends in this job, you think you've developed alliances, you think you've developed meaningful relationships.
Nope.
Bro, people will fucking stab you in the back.
Yep.
People the families of, you've broken bread with, you've gone out of town with, like, people will just fucking shank you.
Yeah.
And that was heartbreaking when I found that out. And so I call the IA investigator. I'm like, "Hey, listen, I need the case file. If nobody's going to help me, I'm gonna handle this myself. I need the IA case file." He's like, "Oh, it's a lot. It's going to take a long time." I'm like, "That's fine. Just however long it takes, just give me the case file so I can start doing what I needed to do." And he's like, "Dude, I'm so sorry. I argued with this woman for 45 minutes. He had exonerated me. Okay. This is according to him. He said he had exonerated me, but she refused to sign off on the investigation and made him change the findings of his report to hold me responsible."
Which is illegal. I mean, his job, I guess she ultimately makes a decision, right? If it's, but he's supposed to present the facts to her.
Yeah,
and they're supposed to make a decision.
But she couldn't really agree on what the facts were, apparently.
I'm sure.
And basically, I got scapegoated. It was there's this philosophical conundrum called the trolley problem. I don't know if you're a nerd like me, you might have heard of it. Have you heard of the trolley problem? It's basically this philosophical exercise where you've got a lever, and you're watching some train tracks of a trolley, and there's a fork in the tracks for the trolley, and it's going towards the current trajectory of the trolley is going towards 5 people in the middle of the track. And if it keeps going, it's going to kill all those 5 people. But you have a lever in your hand, and you can change the track to where the trolley will now go off, and it'll only kill 1 person who's laying in the track. Okay. Which do you choose? And the idea is that if you do nothing, you're going to kill 5 people. Okay. But you didn't initiate that. You're just at the machinery. Okay. You didn't cause it, but you're about to let 5 people die. But if you change it, you are going to be responsible for the death of that one person. So it's like a catch-22. It's a bind. What do you do in that situation?
Yeah.
I was the one guy on the track. You had a group of 5 toxic scumbags that have fallen through the cracks in our agency. And rather than hold them responsible, you took out the dude that has devoted his career to servitude and honesty, you know? So
and what's interesting there is I think in that scenario is the agency is responsible for those 5 people being pieces of shit.
Of course.
And they can flip it that you're responsible for you being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So they run you over. And that's the way I look at that scenario is you take what you said and just kind of twist it a little bit is that trajectory of that agency is going, we're producing mass pieces of shit, 5 of them.
Yeah.
We have one dude over here. We'll make that one dude a piece of shit. And it'll hide the fact that we've failed multiple people. And then he's the problem now.
That's the worst part was the gaslighting to justify. Like, again, bro, I'm not above criticism. Criticize me all you want. Like, I have no ego. I'll be the first to criticize myself. Hey, I fucked this up. Here's how I plan on fixing it. Okay.
Yeah.
But they didn't even give me that opportunity. They just, they basically just laid it all at my feet as if these weren't the worst cops in the agency that I was trying to stick my neck out for and be responsible for, So I'm talking to JJ. He's, I'm sorry, the sergeant, and he's apologizing. He's like, dude, it's fucked up. I argued with her for 45 minutes. She rolled over, or she basically overruled me, and I couldn't do anything. And at that point, I'm just like, whatever, bro, just give me the case file. A couple days go by, still nothing. I call him back, and I'm like, hey, man, he had a little medical issue at the time. And I asked him, like, how you feeling? Because look, bro, I considered him a friend. I cared about the guy. And I'm like, how you feeling? How you doing? Do you have a diagnosis for your injury? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, the diagnosis is stay away from North Miami Beach. And he tells me that my investigation that he was responsible for made him decide that I don't want to be a cop anymore. And he purchased his time back in the pension to retire early because of my investigation.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I'm like, I completely sympathize with you. I think we both see we both see how this place is swirling into the toilet. And, I'm jealous because this guy gets to leave and I got to still deal with this shithole. And I was trying to fix it, but they wouldn't let me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. But when he said that, I'm like, dude, could you not have spoken? If this was your plan, you're going to leave. Like, could you not have grown a spine and told this lady to go pound sand?
Stood a little harder on the line.
Yeah. And look, it was kind of like a, what's the term? I didn't expect an answer to the question. It was just like, come on, bro. You're leaving, you're riding off into the sunset. You couldn't just for a moment, just be like, yeah, you know what? I'm not doing that. I'm retiring. Have a nice life. No, he didn't want any friction. And he got kind of butthurt about me saying that. And he's like, again, I did everything I could. I argued with this woman for 45 minutes, but she wouldn't budge. And at this point, he's starting to gaslight me, saying oh, well, you need to take responsibility, for how you speak to people and this and this and that. And he's like, now he's putting the onus on me for this whole thing, And I'm like, bro, don't talk to me about that. I worked for you for fucking 20 years as my supervisor. Don't give me that shit. Again, it comes back to don't be a hypocrite. don't, but we start going back and forth, and he's like, you know, he's like starting to like take her side and basically saying, oh, well, if you can't take this as a learning lesson, then you're never going to be a captain around here. You know, this and this and that. Like he says, oh, you should have learned a lesson that you shouldn't trust anybody around here. That should be the lesson that I should take, is not to trust people, not do better, not, you know,
be a better cop,
work harder. No, just don't trust people. Yeah, that's going to work out great. You know, words of wisdom right there. Okay. Yeah. And I told him, you know, the conversation goes on, and I'm like, listen, bro, anybody who allowed this to happen was a coward. Anybody who allowed me to be treated like a criminal while simultaneously looking the other way at criminal conduct from officers is a political coward. Yep. And then he got pissed when I said that, hung up the phone, and said, this conversation's over, goodbye. Meanwhile, I still haven't gotten my case file that I've been asking for weeks at this point. And the following day, there was a command staff meeting where he was there. I walked up to greet him and tried to shake his hand, and he didn't want to shake my hand. He was just like kind of staring me down, mean mugging me. I'm like, bro, come on, dude. Like, shake my hand, bro. Like, let's be men here. And he finally shakes my hand. Like, you could tell he was in his feelings, which is fine. You know, I get it. But I sat down, the meeting got started. Inside the meeting, people were talking about basically the same things I was bringing up about how the agency is, the standards are in the gutter, and we need to, like, we're in crisis mode right now, and we need to start doing things. And I spoke up. I said some things that ruffled some feathers in there, but I was honest. The meeting ended, and then I tried to go on a vacation, you know, try to put everything behind me and move forward. When I get back from my vacation, I find out that I am again a subject of a new internal affairs investigation for using offensive language, something like that, and conduct unbecoming. And keep in mind, bro, for the last 6 months, I've been walking on eggshells in that place. Like, I was always pretty outspoken. I wasn't mean. I wasn't rude. I was friendly with everybody. But I had been watching my P's and Q's because I could tell that the spotlight was on my back. And now I've got this extra frivolous bullshit discipline that I knew I didn't do anything. I had no idea what it was from, but I knew I didn't do anything. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, I got to get out of here. They're gonna keep coming after me with this shit until they demote. See, at the time, I didn't go into this in the documentary. It's, you know, one of the more salacious things, but the only supervisors that had ever been issued any type of reprimands or discipline in that agency were the white supervisors, the white male supervisors, which doesn't make a whole lot of statistical sense considering that the white male supervisors are the minority demographic of supervisors on patrol. And the theory was based on the way administrators were talking, the way city leaders were talking. They were saying, oh, we want the city police department to match the demographics of the city. We don't want to make any more white command staff members. Historically, the command staff has been too white. Basically saying, like, this was, they blurted it out loud. Like, this was something to be proud of. Yeah. Like, this isn't a civil rights violation.
We're not going to do anything based on qualifications. We're now going to do things based on race and that only.
They had been saying this type of stuff for a while now, openly admitting that, yes, we're putting people in positions because of their skin color. And more these things are going to the Supreme Court, and people are learning the hard way that, yeah, they probably shouldn't have been doing that.
Was it Gainesville? A white dude sued the agency for not getting promoted over a black dude, and he won like $1 billion. I think it was somewhere in Florida. First time I ever seen it. It was like Gainesville or somewhere like that, where a white supervisor, a white person sued for not getting promoted over a person of color, and actually won a lawsuit, which you don't hear that.
Stay tuned. You might hear it again. But so anyway, all this is going on. Meanwhile, white supervisors are getting railroaded with just like real bullshit reprimands. And the theory is that they wanted to demote the white males in positions or they wanted to stop white males from ascending higher in leadership and demote them if they could.
So or flatline them, discipline them enough where you're not promotable.
Create more opportunities for, the diversity applicants and things like, and good. Hey, look, good luck to all of you. I hope the best person, gets into the position. That was the theory, talking to somebody, like they wouldn't say it out loud. It's uncomfortable when you're listening to that stuff. Like I didn't ask to be born white, I'm not proud of my skin color. I'm not ashamed of my skin color. Again, I'm Karl. I'm not, I'm not affiliated with any, tribe. I don't give a shit about, my heritage or my skin color. Like, I mean, I care about my family and my relatives, but I'm not, I don't have those tribal instincts. So it's uncomfortable when you're hearing all this stuff saying, we're not promoting any more white people. They were saying it openly. And I get handed this new IA the day after I got back from a vacation. So I started talking to my family. I've got 17 and a half years in the pension system. We have, at the time, we had a 20-year retirement, and you can buy back years of service, meaning I could pay money to retire early. So I reached out, talked to some people, figured out what it was going to cost to get me out of there early. And it was a lot, but it was, I missed a important part. So when I got handed this new discipline, before they gave me that, the captain was like, "Oh, the chief wanted us to talk to you because she said you looked at her wrong in roll call." Now, I don't make a habit out of making faces at people. When people speak, I listen. I try not to make any facial expressions. And I asked them, I'm like, can you be more descriptive as far as what she's saying I did that made her feel that way? She said, yeah, she said you were trying to kill her with your eyes. Yeah, no, like crazy person talk. Okay. And I'm like, bro, is that really necessary? And the captains are like, as they're telling me this too, they're like, bro, yeah, this is fucked up. Like we shouldn't be having this conversation. This conversation's retarded, but this is what she told us to do. Whatever, bro. That's when they gave me the discipline. So they're coming after me at this point. So I talked to my family, moved some things around, and coughed up a lot of money to get the hell out of there because they were just coming after me. And they weren't going to stop until I was demoted or fired. Mm-hmm. And so I retire. They give me my little ceremony. They give me my little plaques and everything, like nothing happened. Like, yeah, good job. And I played the game. I thanked everybody, and they gave me a nice little send-off on the radio. But it was so it was so gross. Like the way it unfolded and how I was treated and how they can just do that and keep a clean conscience with no conversation, no dialogue whatsoever.
It's a huge problem, and there's no oversight, and there's nobody you can call. Can't call FDLE. You can't. And I've found that Florida is really shitty with attorneys and suing agencies. That's not a big thing. That's more big in like California is really good at that. There's some big law firms out there, but you just take it, man. It's and that's where I've kind of gone with this podcast and the contacts is there's just stories like this all over the United States. Guys getting hammered like this. It's unfortunate.
Well, but me, I'm not the type of person to roll over and show my belly. So I was now retired, and I found a whole lot more free time on my hands. And I got this whole stack of documents that told my story. And I got all these recordings. Okay. So my brother and I forgot to mention a crucial part, because the sergeant, in my mind, it felt like he was dodging me, giving me the case file to so I could start seeking legal representation. So I talked to the other IA person in there, who's a good friend of mine, and I said, "Hey, I think JJ's mad at me. Would you mind? I don't think he's going to give me the case file. Do you have access to it? Would you mind giving it to me?" She said, "Yep, absolutely. Here it is." Gave it to me the following day, no questions asked. So fast forward to my retirement, my melodramatic exit. I'm sitting with my brother in my house with a file full of pretty funny documents that kind of tell the story, pretty funny recordings and all the receipts for what happened. And I say, let's make a documentary with my brother. And he sat down. Well, I stuck a camera in my face, put up some lights, and I just kind of ran through from A to B what happened. And then my brother spent like 6 months combing through all these documents, like listening. And the reason it was so good to have him do it is because, look, I'm not a neutral observer, right?
Yeah, you're gonna take your own side.
I'm the protagonist of the story. Yep. So you don't want the hero of the story writing his own story. So yeah. I told my brother specifically, like, look, don't bullshit anything. Don't make me look better than I'm not. Don't, just tell the story from A to B. Obviously, it's so much information we have to edit, but let's keep focused on the core of the arguments. Let's address them. And he did a fantastic job. My brother Christian.
It's excellent. Yeah.
Just really honing it and sculpting it into what it was. And obviously, like when it came out, it really, like it was going super viral, like when it first came out. And then all of a sudden I get a notification on YouTube, "Oh, you've been demonetized." I'm like, that's interesting. Why is that? And I look up and ask for a review, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we made a mistake. We're not. You can have demonetize. We're not going to demonetize you. Monetization is re-enabled on your video." But ever since then,
it killed
video.
It
the views like just grinded to a halt.
Yeah.
But I've had talks with like Izzo and people in this field, and it picks up a little bit from time to time organically.
Yeah. Well, it's a great documentary. It's well put together, and it's the Reader's Digest version of this story.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good to hear it this way too, where it comes from your heart. Like this is two guys talking, and to hear most of your guys are going to listen to this and think, man, that's what happened to me, or that could happen to me. And that's what I think what this message is about. Is just it's unfortunate in this career you can go from doing everything right, and we're not perfect. We're not perfect by any means, but you for the most part hold yourself accountable, do the right thing, and when it's your day, man, it's your fucking day. It's your time, and they come get you, and it's pretty sad.
I kind of brought it up in the beginning. It's like so many people have stories that kind of like put mine to shame, but I was in a unique position to be able to tell it.
Yeah.
And
most guys can't. Most guys are stuck. I got a call. They're actually going to let him. I got a call from a guy over the weekend, and he actually got shot at an agent. He got shot in the line of duty, and they still railroaded him. He went to another agency, and his new agency is going to let him talk about it. But I get a lot of guys in this situation. You can't just we were lucky enough to be able to walk away, and not everybody can do that. And that's another important thing for guys to think about is when your day comes at 12, 10, 8, 15 years, and you got to walk away, are you financially being smart and not buying the jacked up truck and all the fancy stuff? And are you living where you can go like me? I'm just lucky enough that I'm short 5 years of my retirement. I only did 20 of 25, and I can't buy it, but I have other means of income where I could go. I'll collect it in 5 years, and you're not gonna screw me. So smart financially.
I'll say this, I'm not that smart, but the smartest thing I ever did was stop buying stupid cars to try to impress people that I didn't give a shit about, trying to draw attention to myself, trying to get women with the $100,000 Mercedes. And like the moment I grew out of that and I bought me some old Chevy shit boxes and taught myself how to work on them, and
Yeah.
bought a little modest house and just started throwing money at that. That's the moment my life changed for the better. I do not need fancy things. Give me my house, give me my toys, give me peace. I am happier than a pig in shit. I do
Yeah.
not. But so many people, they get wrapped up into that lifestyle.
Social
they buy,
media, all that
yeah,
stuff now. I mean, you
yeah,
see it, it's social media. It's a lot of these guys are so young too. I remember from the military, I remember coming out of basic training and I had like $3,000 or $4,000 in the bank at like 18 years old, 19. I'm like, holy shit, I've never seen that much money.
yeah.
It's kind of the same thing as a cop. You start making a decent wage and you start getting that money and then you live beyond your means quickly.
Yep.
And then you get, I can't do that. I can't move. I can't get out of this job. And it's like, well,
It's the golden handcuffs. They're
yeah,
real.
it's unfortunate you put yourself in that situation. Now you're living miserably at an agency where you can't just up and leave. And, retirement is always the big talk, but it's not that great. It's nice. But it's not like being a cop at the retirement is so great that you need to put up with everything you just talked about or everything that I put up with. There's other jobs and other careers where the retirement is equally as good. They sell you on the retirement and it sounds good on paper when you're like 19 and you're like, yeah, I want to be a cop. Look at this great benefits, health insurance. You don't realize that what happens to Karl Anderson happens to hundreds of cops throughout the nation, and that you have to be able to. And what is it? How many now in LA? 13 suicide? I forget the number. They had another person kill themselves, and I was told that Los Angeles County, where that agency is, they just voted 000 for the next 3 years on raises because they're in so many lawsuits and they've paid out so much money over the last couple of years that they are getting no raise in the next 3 years. So you start looking at that and your mental health, and is this job worth it? And is it worth going through what you went through? And are you living in a manner that allows you to walk away from that career or that agency and move to another one? Because they blackball you. They do all kinds of shit, man.
Yeah. But not only was I able to walk away, I was able to walk away comfortably and say, "Fuck you, clowns." And now you're all famous. How does that feel?
Yeah, that's what
how you like them apples?
Yeah, that's what somebody said to me.
I hope it made a difference and never lets that happen to anybody else.
Yep.
Listen, I don't like shit talking people. I don't like hurting people's feelings. But when you are that malevolent to somebody, and you create monsters in that place, in this job, you create monsters. You are responsible. If you're the head of the snake, you are responsible for all the bullshit, and you never ever take responsibility for. How does it feel? How does it feel to be famous now?
And that's where I kicked it around and I thought I'll leave and I'll just fuck them up. I'll just put all the affairs out there. And this guy's banging this chick from this agency, like this department, all the nonsense that they overlook in that agency. I thought, you know what? One, it would have probably just made me look like a crybaby and probably would have discredited some of my of what I'm trying to say. But I think my version of this now is helping out a guy like Sal Oderati. We were able to connect him with the Pipe Hitter Foundation. He's going to get money for his family through the Eddie Gallagher and Andrea Gallagher and the Pipe Hitter Foundation, getting your message out there. So I guess you kill them with success. Like they expected me to leave and they expected me. They're going to transfer me into jail. They're going to ruin my life. I was going to be buried. Well, I'm not. And now I'm here. And instead of just throwing mud back at them and highlighting what pieces of shit they are and just looking like a crybaby, I'm going to take this little platform I have, and I'm going to use it to help other people and make sure this shit doesn't happen to other people and help get other people's stories out. And that will give me my satisfaction, because at the end of the day, me just throwing my own agency under the bus, though they deserve it, I would be just like them. I would be a piece of shit just like them. I would be a piece of shit just like all of them are. And it would just make me look like a crying ex-girlfriend or a little, this little baby. So in other words, let me be successful. And in that success, let me help people like you, people like Sal, get the message out there and hopefully help people going forward. Karl, I really appreciate you coming on. You have a hell of a story. You want to pump your video one more time? Tell everybody where you can watch it.
Yeah. So if you type in Unbecoming full documentary on YouTube, it should be the first one to pop up. And also I made another YouTube channel. So my original YouTube channel is just kind of like lifestyle music stuff. I like making music and things like that. That's where I put the original documentary. It's anybody can watch it. But I would love if I'm making video essays on really important topics in police culture that don't really get a lot of, I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I love psychology. I love philosophy. So I'm trying to incorporate some ancient philosophical wisdom into the culture of law enforcement. And I made a new channel. It's called Shadow in the Shield on YouTube. I've got 5 videos up, and I'm going to keep cranking them out. And I'd love if people stop by to.
I'll put those links in this video edit. This will come out tomorrow at noon, and I appreciate it. And thank you for telling your story. Thank you for putting the accountability back on the agency and not just taking it like most guys do, walking away. I think it's very admirable what you've done, and I think your story can help other cops succeed when they're getting taken out like you did.
Keep receipts of everything.
Yes, that's important. Document every conversation. When you feel this coming, it's not hearsay. If you document it and write it down and keep a journal, even if it's not on paper or on video or heard, if you keep a running log written down of dates and times, that is admissible in hearings because it's not considered hearsay. And I started doing that. It's very important.
Good.
All right, Carl. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, Mike. It was a pleasure, brother.
Yep.
I'm the only white face in this area. You don't belong here. Stop, I'll shoot you in the back.